Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm Shahid here again with another episode of my podcast Radio Silence. The topic I had today, it just jumped at me. I read about it and I knew that I had to make a podcast about it and I had to tell other people about what happened in this particular chapter in history because it is so sad, it is so jarring, and we have to ensure that something like it never happens again. I am talking about the rape of Congo as is recalled in history. So, to understand about what happened in the Congo, we have to understand Belgium. Belgium is a small, rich country located in Central Europe, very influential, very powerful. Its capital, Brussels, is also the capital, the summer capital of the European Union. It has borders with Germany, borders with Netherlands, and it also houses the European Union Parliament. It also has many important people. Michel Barnier, who's the chief negotiator for the EU on Brexit, he is from Belgium. And it gives the overall feels of a very rich and influential country. But behind the glass and concrete, there is a terrible secret. It is a secret of pain, slavery, and the worst form of misery you could imagine. And to understand this pain, slavery, and misery, I need to take you guys back to 1865. 1865 was the year when Leopold II succeeded his father to the Belgian throne. And this person had a very strong inferiority complex. And he understood that his country had no influence, little to no influence in Europe, and he wanted to change that. And so he set his eyes towards Africa. And he is quoted as having said that he wanted a slice of the magnificent African cake. And in pursuit of this desire, he carved himself a colossal personal empire. He exploited and killed millions to build a fortune. And history has recorded this in very stark terms. Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness is a classic. I have attempted to read it and I will go back to it very soon, I hope. I found it to be a bit difficult to comprehend, but I do think that it will be worth it in the end. So Leopold II, he wanted to establish an empire in Africa, but the audacity, the audacity with which he went ahead, it is so infuriating. The garb that he wore of pity and welfare to hide the most exploitative and abusive of regimes, it is so remarkable and it is so demeaning. I cannot condemn it in strong enough terms. So what he did was that he formed the International African Association. And this organization was supposed to be an NGO of sorts. Before NGOs were a thing, it was supposed to work for the welfare of the Congo, because the Congo was the region he had set his sights on. It was a huge area in Central Africa, and it had a lot of resources, the chief among them being rubber and ivory, and Leopold wanted all of it, mercilessly plundered it, and so he created, the ironically termed Congo Free State in that area, but it was anything but free. So the management over there, like any other colony, was very exploitative, and they were ruthless. But in the Congo, it took on a whole new level of menace. They created a force, a mercenary army called the Force Publique. It was 20,000 strong. It had 20,000 men, and they were charged with the collection of a very oppressive system of exploitation called the rubber tax. Now, what they would do is that they would go to a village. There would be simple people minding their own business, tilling their lands, and going about with the normal lives. This force of Belgians would go into that village, and they would take all the women and children, and they would hold them hostage, and they would actually force the men to go into the rainforests and bring them a certain quantity of rubber. Until they bought them this quantity of rubber, they did not allow the women and the children to go back to their families. And this rubber became the biggest commodity that Belgium sold, and it made Leopold filthy rich. But this wealth, it wasn't shared with the Congolese. It wasn't distributed, and they were extremely miserly in exhibiting this wealth. The most condemning example and the saddest thing that I have ever heard in colonial history is what they did when they wanted to account for ammunition. So they kept a very tight rein over things. They did not waste ammunition. They were exploiting a whole country, but still they were so spendthrift that they did not want to waste a single bullet. And so what the superiors did was that they asked their soldiers that we don't want you to waste bullets hunting wild animals just for your own amusement. You can only use them to hunt rebels and people who create trouble. And the way we will know that you did not waste these bullets is that you would bring us their hands. You would cut off the hand of the dead person and you would bring it to us to account for each bullet. So one bullet is equal to one hand. And just so they could have some enjoyment, they could kill animals and fowl, and they could spend some sort of quality time. They would kill animals anyways, and then they would cut off the hands of innocent people who had done nothing just to account for those bullets. They would cut off the arms of these people and present them to their superiors. As you can imagine, the reign of Leopold II was long and it was painful. But the size of casualties, the cost of this colonial enterprise, it is colossal. Because when the reins of Leopold II were lifted from Congo, when his control was lifted from it, the population of Congo had halved the people, which amounted to 10 million people, had been killed. Either they had been killed by the force publique, the mercenary army, or either they had been forced into labor and they had died over there, or the last remaining option was that they starved to death, because the entire ecosystem and the entire lives of these people were ruined by Leopold II. Now, back in Europe, Leopold pandered around as if he were some savior, as if he was enlightening the people of the Congo and he was bringing them into the first world, when it was anything but that. And horrible tales were told by the missionaries, the Christian missionaries who went to the Congo for conversion activities and to spread the message of the gospel. They told horrible tales. And when these tales made their way back to Europe, some of the European countries also started their own independent investigations as to what was this welfare organization, the International African Association, doing there in the Congo. So the British Foreign Office, it sent a diplomat, Roger Casement, to investigate what was happening in the Congo, and he came back shocked when he unveiled the human rights violations on a scale that was unheard of. And when all these details started coming back, people in Europe were horrified. They didn't do much for a long time, but finally, in 1908, the Belgian Parliament, which was actually under the king, they annexed it from his authority, which meant that the Congo was no longer under the authority of the king himself. Obviously, it was a positive measure for the time, but it did not resolve any of the problems of the Congo. Those problems still persist. So many weapons had made their way into Africa and into the Congo that civil war still rages in the Democratic Republic of Congo to this day. The country formally received independence in 1960, but to this day there is some sort of discord in the country. And all the instability was sown there by King Leopold and his exploitative regime. You guys must have heard of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He's the writer of the very popular Sherlock Holmes books. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he termed the rape of the Congo as the greatest crime in history. Number one, the greatest crime in history. And I agree, because the scale of shamelessness with which it was perpetrated, the scale of shamelessness which it was furthered, it is unprecedented, and to this day it has not been matched. Now, before you guys leave, I want you guys to take some lessons from this event in history. We need to understand that these countries that tell us about what civilization is, they have the most unruly, and they have the worst history among all of us in terms of human rights and in terms of justice and in terms of endowing people with knowledge, endowing people with respect, these countries have the worst track record among all of us. And when we crowd to them in order that we may gain some sort of nationality, people want to go to Belgium, right, to become one of the many economic slaves over there who is running their machinery. We need to understand that these countries, they have a horrible past behind them. And I'm not asking you to start a rebellion. I am just asking you guys to know these things, because it is our right that we know who did what, so that we can hold them accountable in some form or the other. So guys, this was a very painful topic for me. I believe I have never studied such a devastating topic in my entire stint in studying history. And let us hope that such things in the 21st century, we have moved past the point that such horrible atrocities may be committed. Now I hope you guys will leave your feedback in the comment section. I hope you guys had fun. I like talking about history. I find it very enlightening and very interesting, very absorbing, and I hope you guys enjoy the podcast too. You like our talking history section, and I do hope to be back soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.